Welcome to the Honest Property Podcast. It's Becky and Ruth again. We're back to tell you about not feeling alone, basically. I mean, how not to feel alone and the importance of finding community. And basically, when we first started, we completely lacked community because we were the only people who were like us doing what we did. We were literally the only young female people
that were pursuing our dream in starting a business and in investing at the same time.
Whenever we were in a course or a crowd of people trying to expand our knowledge, we were definitely the only people that were in our demographics in the room. So we're really grateful that social media has actually expanded.
Especially Instagram. Instagram didn't exist 10 years ago, and it was the first platform for us to be able to find other people in property, and especially women and even younger women. And that was a huge eye-opener for us that if we could go back in time, we wish that we found that earlier. We're lucky that we had each other, but it was definitely difficult to be able to feeling like it was definitely difficult because we did feel like we didn't know who to ask advice from.
And we weren't taken very seriously, so that was also a big hurdle, see as discouragement, but ultimately it's made our skins a lot thicker. We weren't taken seriously. People were just thinking, oh, how sweet. Maybe they're letting agents. Maybe they just hold the keys to open the doors. No disrespect to letting agents at all, but I think they never assumed that when we were doing viewings, we were actually the investor.
So even when we were trying to acquire capital to be able to do our first investments, everyone thought like our dad, bless him, would take us in. He would drive us to the meetings, and people would assume that he was the one that they were talking to, not us.
When we were the ones with the knowledge, we were the ones who put the effort and money into our education to learn about property investing. And it was a real eye-opener into the realities of the working world.
And the reality to business. And we realized that that wasn't the kind of business that we wanted to be involved in.
Yeah, and we struggled to find people like ourselves. And to be honest, we haven't found people like ourselves.
This is why we've decided to start this space, is because we are wanting to create a community that we never had when we first started. And so we think it's really, really important for everyone who are wanting to pursue entrepreneurship or start investing to be able to come together and support each other.
And learn from each other and just share the realities of what each phase is like. Because I think the internet or just social media really glamorizes the idea of being an investor, the idea of being a property a landlord and being a property
and hustle culture.
Yeah, and it's just not it just doesn't really illustrate the reality of what it means to be an investor or have assets that you need to take care of, like the day to day, depending on how involved you want to be. A lot like your assets are your responsibility.
And you can't just acquire an asset and then forget about it. There's no such thing as completely passive. So don't believe anything that you see on social media.
And especially when you're on your learning journey, you're going to be quite hands-on because, it's wise to know exactly how everything runs, which means you're going to be out there getting good impressions from people and people who are selling their houses or people who want to sell their houses to you to try and buy them off them. You want to go and talk to the contractors and make sure you've got a good deal, know that they're not, they're giving you a good and reasonable rate.
And the way that we learnt was doing the work first ourselves before we delegated.
Yeah. So like the day-to-day running of actually doing the do is not as fancy and glamorous as the internet often makes it out to be.
Yeah. And we realized that the people that we're searching for are people who share the same values, that we are very family orientated.
We have very strong family values. We're
not flashy.
We see money as a tool to freedom, not necessarily to a means to a lot of materialistic things. our goal is to also give back spiritually. We want to be able to do good in this world and be able to give back. And we know that by having more resources like money, you can give
a lot
of that
more back.
We don't want to be dependent on the government. I don't want to come across as unempathetic, as I understand that everybody comes from different backgrounds and has different abilities and capabilities, but where it's possible, especially I believe if you're from a Western country, it's important to take responsibility where you can to try and improve your situation so that you aren't dependent, whether it's on the government or another significant other.
As women in sales, we really care about having financial independence and not relying solely on your partner. And at the end of the day, choosing to have a partner for us is you're both bringing something to the table. And unfortunately, in a world today, most partners have to work. Both partners have to work.
Yeah, the property world online is very sort of male dominated, and the attitude to work as well. Generally, I mean, it makes sense. Like the working world and investor world was generally male dominated, so the working attitude in that industry is a male perspective, and it just doesn't align very well with working like a woman, because we obviously have
a menstrual cycle.
We're a lot more in tune with nature and our hormones and the flows of life, and our lives are transformed a lot more, especially if you do choose to start a family. This male perspective on the
what
property,
business and what investing is supposed to look like. And this is partly why we felt really alone in the beginning, because we didn't have those female role models to be able to look up to when it came to investing and
to show
entrepreneurship.
us how to work like a woman.
Exactly. Our role model was watching our dad, who was a man. And
when we were learning as well, everyone in the classroom about property were men.
Men. There was hardly any women when we went to do our training course. Even our mentor was a man, and we just realized,
and not even young men. They were older men.
Yeah.
So it's also a different age group, and there was no one that was really our demographic to be able to learn from or take inspiration from.
And then we went into business and we went into investing with that mindset that actually was detrimental to our health. Like it just didn't align at all. And it worked us until burnout.
Yeah. So I really am grateful for social media for opening up our eyes to seeing other types of role models out there who are showing everyone that it's okay to work like a woman, okay to work with your body and use what your body can do as a superpower.
There's so many success, to be able to see more role models of successful women in business, successful women in investing has been such an eye-opener that we don't need to pretend to do business like men do, because it just doesn't work with how we're built.
We just don't work on the same sort of level of constant productivity in that way. We have ebbs and flows, and we need to honor our bodies and our minds and work with the superpowers that we inherently have as women. So I feel like it's great now that we are able to connect with people in this way. And also the property world's very materialistic. Sort of the role models, a lot of the role models out there are just driving around in flashy cars around Dubai.
And we didn't resonate with that at all.
We just struggle to connect with that sort
you
of
sleep
wealthy
when you're
person.
dead.
Yeah, wake up at 5 a.m. and throw yourself in an ice cold bathtub and then run 500 miles and then
don't
do 10 press ups and listen to 10 podcasts and then
in 1 hour. It was exhausting, and we found a way to be able to
honor our bodies and our minds and our family and what we're doing this all for in the first place. And I think it's just really refreshing and a relief, really, to be able to know that you can work like a woman.
And there are also other women out there who are doing the same.
And not just that, I think men also really benefit from knowing that they don't have to feel the pressure either to keep up with the appearances that a lot of this industry really demonstrate online. is as a sign of success, when it's not. Like peace is success, stability is success, time with your loved ones is success, a healthy body, a healthy mind, that's all success to us.
Yeah, over the last 10 years, we've realized that to us is true success is when you are you're able to put your well-being, your health, and your family first, and yourself. Yeah, just yourself. It allows you to give a lot more back to your community. And without your health, like hustle culture, it doesn't include looking after yourself.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be burnt out, and you're not helpful for anyone.
Yeah, so we struggled to find community because that is all that was being shown to us at the time. The other reason that we struggled with finding community is because landlords are also just severely penalized in the media.
People hate landlords, especially in the UK. And
we only posted something on TikTok the other day that was sort of a no gatekeeping. This is how a breakdown of one of the investments that we've done. And I understand that it could come across as flaunting online, but we intended it to be educational and to be honest and give the truth to people about what you need to do in order to get started in property investment. But we had a lot of retaliation, people saying that we were taking advantage of people, that we shouldn't be paid for putting a roof over other people's heads. But that's basically how I translated it. And that they said that the house was like really ugly,
but it was a before picture.
I felt myself having to explain, like, this is a before picture. The house was owned by a really sweet old lady, hence it's not a 5-star hotel, and that we ended up
putting a lot of money into making sure that it was suitable for tenants to live there.
And we put a lot of our own money in that, and now it's rented out to the government who house vulnerable people. How can you be so cruel to somebody who puts all their effort into doing that? I guess it bewilders
There is a
me.
lot of hate towards landlords, and it's because of the newspapers and the media, and it paints a terrible light on landlords who are actually trying to do a world of good. Not everyone is looking, especially today, not everyone is looking to own a home. Most people, especially our generation, are people who are not staying in jobs for 30 years. They are looking to move around.
People want freedom to move around. Why should everyone feel obliged to buy a house when you don't want to buy a house and have that long-term liability? It's just, I think people are just don't have that knowledge yet, and the media paints a bad picture on landlords. Therefore, we struggle to find community because
it's easier for landlords to get attacked.
So we kept our landlady ness under wraps because we didn't want to feel judged. We didn't want people to think that we were bad people, even though we knew we weren't. But it takes a whole load of effort to try and educate and convince other people when we didn't really have to or need to, that we're not bad people. That's another reason why we struggled to find community. But we are definitely putting ourselves a lot more out there this year.
Yeah, we want to show that of course there's bad landlords. They're the landlords that don't care about their tenants, and they don't prioritize, they pocket all the profit, and they don't care about making sure that the tenants are being looked after. We spend a lot of money in making sure that our properties are up to date when they need repairs. And that will always be our priority, because at the end of the day, it's an investment, but you're also housing someone who deserves to be able to have a home that they feel safe.
Yeah.
So becoming a landlord is a huge responsibility, and you shouldn't take it lightly.
The last couple of years, we have been a lot more upfront about who we are, what we do. There's no shame, there's no shade about being a landlady or having a business. Like, that's just absolutely ludicrous, and you're not going to be able to please everybody all the time. No. And your people gravitate towards you anyway. And we really hope that you connect with something we've said, or maybe you can relate to our perspective on what money is and what our goals are and values are as people who invest and want to build wealth for ourselves and the next generations. Because money is a tool. It can also it can also bring people together and do a lot of good in the world. So that's the community that we're looking to create, and we're really grateful that you're listening to us now and being a part of that community already. I mean, look at us now. We're just like in sort of comfy clothes and sitting at home.
Yeah.
We've been allowed the luxury to do that because of our property investments, but we still keep it super duper humble because ultimately we want our money to go towards the next investment or the repairs. And that's what it takes. If you want to build wealth, just live below your means and don't get money just to flash it around other people. Do good and know what your sole purpose of what you want to use that tool for, and that's just a life of freedom of choice, freedom of knowing that your family are safe and that you're able to make sure that you can afford health insurance and all the things that are like really essential for a happy life. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you haven't already, please give our podcast a follow on whatever app you're using at the moment.
This podcast episode was all about finding community, where we never had that in the beginning of our journey when it came to entrepreneurship and investing. So if you found this really helpful and
want to be a part of our community, as
we'd happily welcome you.
Yes, please press the follow button on your podcast app. It really helps us to grow this platform and to make sure we keep delivering honest conversations about entrepreneurship and property investing in the future. If you have any questions for us, give us a DM on Instagram. Our handle is @honestpropertysisters, and we will do our best to answer those questions for you ASAP. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you in the next one.